Delighted to say we've got the full team, bar a
Full
jockey.
team is here.
Except a jockey. Starting from the far, Tahaji, who is the work rider, exercise rider for California Chrome. And then we got Alan Sherman.
No, I'm
Alan, Frank Taylor, Art Sherman, Alan
Right.
Sherman.
Yeah.
So we've got it right now eventually.
There you go.
So I'm going to start with Art. When did you get in? When did you arrive?
We arrived last night. We got back to the hotel about 8:30
And-
that night. We had a great flight. It was nice.
And first up, to be back here, have you seen the horse and what was your first
I was
impressions?
there early this morning. In fact, I was up, but I couldn't sleep. I was up at 2:00. Just a time change for me. You know, it takes me a day or two to get used to it again. But he looks great. I gave him a couple of cookies, and he knew my voice when I went over there. You know, I said, "Hey, Chrome," and he went to nickering, and I said, "Oh gosh," I thought he might forget about me by then.
So when you saw him, obviously you feel he looks to you.
He looks tremendous right now. He really does. And every time I look at him, he seems like he grows. You know, I haven't seen him since I was back here a month ago. And when you haven't seen him in a month, boy, you can sure tell the difference.
So and let's talk about that. Since your dad was here, how has it been in that month? Obviously you've had the good win and everything's gone well so far. Since then, talk us through what it's been like and how it has progressed towards Saturday night.
He's been training great. You know, he is very forward in his training. He's always been that way. He loves to train. He loves his job, and he's been doing great since he's been here. I think it was a big plus getting here early and getting a race in him, getting him acclimated, and I'm looking forward to Saturday.
Riding him, how has he? You sit on him every day. What sort of feel is he giving? A really buzz and exciting feel ahead of Saturday.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like Alan said, getting over here early has really helped him. You know, it's kind of a walk from the quarantine barn to the track. So by the time you get up there, you would think a horse would be tired, but it just loosens him up, and he's doing really good. He's a lot stronger now than when he won the San Pasquale. He looks good, real fit.
What do you think of the rain this morning?
Oh, the rain's a little tough on me. You know, I forgot my gloves, and he heard a horse coming. He wanted to run away, and then I had this rain jacket on. That didn't help me, the noise, and I was just praying all the way, just slow down. I just wanted to get to where I can stop him.
I think we were all confused by the rain this morning. So, the humans particularly who haven't brought their raincoats with them. But overall, since the run, has he just given you a really good feel every time you sit on him?
Yeah, since that race, he's only went forward. You know, he's progressed. He's a lot stronger. He's really traveling really, really good, and he loves it here. You know, he gets on this track and he just enjoys what he does.
And Frank, obviously, now, how excited are you now for him to, win? If he could win this, and obviously with what's in store for him, obviously now that you're the 100% owners of the horse, how excited are you about Saturday night, as from the owner's side?
Well, it's exciting. You know, it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to get to a horse of this caliber, and to have him on this stage, it's just, it's exciting. It's the first thing you think of every morning you wake up, and the last thing before you go to bed. And it's just, it's really exciting.
What is it about him that, I mean, we know his talent and obviously what he's achieved, but when you look at him every day and sort of think about him, what's your sort of overriding feeling about the horse?
Well, he's just a big, beautiful horse and very flashy looking, and he's got a great personality, and he's just one of those horses that has a kind of a presence or an air about him, that the really good ones have.
You've seen him obviously all through and known what he's like. Where do you think he is? Do you think he can produce even a better runs? Is he maturing to produce a run of a lifetime here on Saturday night?
Well, I hate to get really high on him, but I'll tell you one thing. He's 5 lengths better horse than he was last year.
Quite a good line, that. Quite like that, Art. So, Alan, well, of course you're going to agree with your father, aren't you?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So why do you think what is it about him that leads you to believe that he is 5 lengths better than last year?
Well, I think just the way he's matured, he's became a man. You know, I had him since he's 2-year-old, and you watch him progress every year, and after the Derby and being here last year. And now I look at him and I watch him work, and he amazes me, to tell you the truth. I was kind of, wow, look at him now, and gives you a good feeling. He gets chills down in watching him, I just said, wow, he's turned into, well, that Alan calls him, he says, he's a monster, Dad. I said, that's what I want to hear.
And I mean, obviously, the plan, the long-term
Sure.
plan. It seems like, from your perspective, it couldn't have gone better if you've now got a horse that you think is going to run even better than he did last year. I mean, it really has worked so far, so good as far as you're concerned.
Yeah, I think the time off helped him a lot. They did a great job at TaylorMade with him when we turned him out there, and he came in, just looked unbelievable, and he's been, ever since he came back in, he's been training forwardly ever since. He's never taken a step back, knock on wood. So I'm getting excited about it.
Does he feel five lengths better than last year?
This is my first time on him. I watched him, since Ordinary had him in Hollywood Park, and to watch him from the ground and to be on him, it's a different thing. This horse stride is unbelievable. The way he travels, he very seldom gets off the ground. He switches his leads easily. He just wants to do his job. He's a very easy horse to train. He can be aggressive, but he's a smart horse at the same time.
And Frank, as the owners, what's the sort of long-term plan now with him? If all goes well on Saturday night, have you got an idea of a campaign? Because obviously, when's he likely to go off to stud? Because that's obviously something for California Chrome to look forward to.
Well, we've got a tentative plan. Any plan for a racehorse has to be tentative, He's if he comes back good, we've kind of talked about mapping out a plan where let him rest at TaylorMade for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and then send him back to Art and Allen, California, and the tentative plans kind of point towards the Pacific Classic and then the Breeders' Cup.
And would that be the end of Breeders' Cup? Or you think you could keep on? What's the plan?
Well, if Frank Stronach comes up with that $12 million race at Gulfstream, I'd say we'll delay his retirement.
Okay.
And if that were to happen, that would be January 7th next year. So I would think that if he was doing good, he might run there and then retire.
Okay. So any questions for the California Chrome team, the Chromies, the 4 Chromies up here?
I got one. Frank, what about the goal of making this the world's richest racehorse?
Well, that's the goal. It's a possibility. If he wins this race, he'll be the highest earner ever in North America. So, and then if you were to win the Classic, he could be a highest of all time, I believe. So, it's just been amazing. We kind of when we bought into him, we weren't even sure we were going to run him at that point, and we got him back to Dr. Bramlage, and he went over him and said, he could come back 100% with the issues he had. And he rehabbed perfectly, and he's just a good horse. He makes everybody look good. He's just got class and never missed a note. We had him there about 90 or 100 days, and I think he put on 190 pounds in that time, and just blossomed and needed the time, and he's just gotten better and better.
What about the breeding aspect for next year? You've got Michelin, another July World Cup contender that's also going to be there. It's for your operation.
It's looking good. We really needed it because we lost Unbridled Song, and then we had St. Bellotto. So those are 2 horses that big shoes to fill. And it's been really hard to compete with the other farms getting good horses, but we've been really fortunate to get Chrome and then to get Mashawish also. On him, we just bought in on half of him, and we're just participating in the breeding. We're not participating on the racing end. So with Chrome, we've got the racing and the breeding. So we're looking for a good exacta.
You mentioned about him being a man now. What is that one quality you think that makes him a man?
Well, after you see him and have the horse and watch him develop, over the years, and it's kind of watching your kid grow up from being 13 to 16 and 17 and how different they change. And it's been a remarkable change in him, you know what I mean? And it's kind kind of gives you goose pimples when you look at him now, and I think about him when he was a 2-year-old, kind of a wiry young horse that had talent but just needed time to develop. You know, he's at a growing age, and now you see him 3 years later, and I say, wow, he sure looks different.
You mentioned he might be 5 lengths better this year than last. Is there anything different in your preparation that you've done going into this race, or anything that you learned from last year going forward that you've done that's made brought
Well, I think the time, giving him a rest, he needed that tremendously. You know, he was kind of a horse that we didn't give too much time off when he was 2 and 3. You know what I mean? And now he had the time off, and he looks really great. And it's amazing what a horse can look like after he's been turned out and given some grass, and being in Kentucky where he's got such a nice place over there in TaylorMade that I could see such a big change into him. So looking for the best, you know. Of course, I might be a little biased too. You know.
What about in terms of obviously the barrier or the post position to come? Are you anywhere that you prefer to draw them?
We were talking about that. I'd say 5, 6, 7, 8, right in there would be perfect for me.
And he's tactically pretty versatile.
Well, I would think, you know, he's got pretty natural kind of speed if you want to use it. You know what I mean? We've been rating him now, but we'll see what, you know, when we look at the PPs on the rest of the horses and see who's got the speed and what your competition looks like. And I just want him to have a clean trip. That's all I want.
What do you make of Frosted as a horse?
I think Frosted is a very nice horse. I've been watching him. I watched him run in the States, and it's, you know, he'll probably, you know, if I was handicapping the race, I would have to think that he'd be one of the horses to beat. But, you know, you can't duck anybody. We're here to run, you know. If he's good enough, he's good enough. If you get beat, you get beat, you know. We're not making any excuses prior to that. We'll find out who's the best horse come Saturday.